WACPtv, the place to be. For we are creative people. Stay tuned for the best, and the rest of your life.
And now, your feature presentation, Gullahful.
We're on our way on
Gullahful.
to the 2007 Gullah Festival. Traveling with Pendergrass Tours, and this year, after several years, we decided to get a bus again, and that was coordinated. It's going to be 3 days of edutainment. We're going to be traveling with about 20-25 folk, and we hope this experience will be an enlightenment, an enrichment, and fun weekend. Sister Fua has done a lot of the work behind the scenes. Sister Fua is a major cultural mother of this community and been involved for years from New York to Atlanta in putting on cultural events, Kwanzaa especially. And we have Sister Belinda Matilda X, who is also visited the Gullah Festival for several years, and she's with us again this year and put a lot of time to organizing this trip. Hopefully we'll have again a very spiritual and positively cultural experience. We're going to open up people's eyes to the Gullah Festival. I hope this will be a document to show other folk that would encourage people to come along. We're going to start our first leg in Savannah. So off we go from Atlanta to Savannah.
All right there.
The bus driver is Mr. Johnson.
All right. Okay. So we're going to ride in style.
On Ride in Style.
All right there.
That's right.
Thank you much for sharing.
That's right.
Okay. Hello everyone, welcome. How's everyone? Say something, holler at me. Okay, it's 12:35, which means bugged out with 35 minutes from the party, but we're on CP in good time and we're ready to go. I wanted to allow folks as we move around to introduce themselves. This travel this year is being documented in terms of hopefully capturing the entertainment, the cultural enlightenment, for you all to be able to share it with other people. The brother here has a video documentation company here. I like for people to get to know each other, hopefully be a safe journey. And there's anyone who has a spiritual yearning to bless the bus driver and anoint the bus and give us acts to love and respect each other and make this one of the best years we have in our lives.
We have a superintendent in Warren's Public Schools and the recovery district schools.
Honey.
Indigo Coast. We're seeing the
So you're with Auburn Avenue too?
We're with the Auburn Avenue Research Office.
All right there. You want to speak to us? All right there. Welcome.
Beverly Briscoe.
Okay, so you're going to enjoy this trip, right?
Of course.
All right there.
I'm looking forward to every moment.
Okay.
This is Catherine Thornton. This is Joyce Reynolds.
Homeland Security Legislation
All right.
And I am retired from AT&T and Bell South. And I hope they have a good time.
Okay.
40% of this money has been awarded in form of contracts.
If there are more,
After the season, 5% of the contracts.
My name is Willa Mae Collier. My first time going to the Gullahful Festival. I'm very excited. Heard so much about it.
Hi, I'm Rebel Fontaine. This is my first time going to the Gullah Festival. I've known about the Gullahs for about 20-some years. And I'm really just to find out more.
I'm usually camera shy, so I'm not going to say much. My name is Owen, and I'm just happy to be on this Gullah tour. That's it.
Diane Perry. All right. Are you some kin to the Perrys?
Yes.
All right. Tell us about yourself.
I'm Tyler Perry's cousin.
All right. All right. Well, I know you are. Tell us about this trip.
Well, I want to thank Queen Mother for inviting me. I'm just excited about all I'm going to experience and learn. And just thank you for the ride.
South America? Central America?
Say South America. I'm from the Caribbean.
Right. What part have you?
Dominican Republic.
Oh, it's the Republic.
So Dominican is in the house.
Beyond. Okay.
Excited about the trip.
Okay.
I was invited by Milagros, and I'm just really excited to learn about different cultures.
All right.
We got Brother Addis here. Sister Swanson. The First Baptist Church folk, and that's the main stop, the oldest black church in Savannah. Last year we went there, they were already closed when we got there. I checked on the phone just now, and they said they'll be leaving about 4 o'clock. They expanded their academic program to Atlanta and to go to the Atlanta School of Art and Design. But Savannah College of Art and Design is probably one of the more renowned international colleges of art and design, even more luminary than the New York College of Art and Design. Most people think they are the #1, but I think Savannah is taking over that title. Savannah College of Art and Design is all around us, and all of the buildings except this is the county courthouse building. In the 20 years or so that I've come here regularly, I began to see how many more buildings have been restored and taken over ownership by the Savannah College of Art and Design, and their program has just grown. Baptist Church it is the oldest church in Savannah. It is on the National Reserve Historical Marker. It kind of gives you all the significant structures here in Savannah. It is rated excellent in architecture and listed in the National Register of Historic Places.
And as long as you were in church, you didn't have to work in the field. So how long did you stay in church? And if some of you are on seats that are wider than the others, well, they were 50 years. 50 years. You all have space, but I know that at least 7 people are going to show each of you. 50 years, bone up. Upstairs, we see 1600.
Tell you what was strange, I tell you what was a fool and crazy thing, was the belief of all them other people that we, the children of Africa, did not have religion. That we, the children of Africa, did not have faith. Oh, they was wrong. They was dead wrong. Because Lord, you know, we didn't ask for come, y'all. Lord, we did not desire for failure. But y'all we are, Lord. Y'all we are in this old strange and barren land. Never to return to the Africa we once know. Never to return to the Africa we love.
That just look like churches in England. I've been to several, and they're made like this. It's gorgeous.
Now, this was not built by white people. This was built by slaves. The walls are 4 brick thick. The pastor was owned by a contractor. And so there's nobody who coordinated what this looks like.
She's an old friend of mine. She's an environmental justice activist. Her name is Dr. Miriam McLean. She grew up here. She moved across the world. She lived in Africa. She lived all over the United States. And she has what is called now Citizens for Environmental Justice. They have a big building office over on Amsterdam. Come on in, everybody. We want to get a little conversation going on. How you doing, brother?
Is that Mahati?
Oh my goodness!
Hey, how you doing?
Around here.
Yes,
No, let me
yes,
come
yes.
from around here.
All right.
Let me do this properly.
All right, this is beautiful.
Excuse me, Miss Lady. Okay. I gotta wrap it up right there, and I got about 20 minutes. There you go, and I will call you in a little bit, okay? All right. I'm glad you decided to stop back here on the way. This is the Geechee territory in Savannah. This is Africa in Savannah. And you look, listen here. I want to tell y'all this from Jump Street. Listen up, everybody.
Listen up.
Listen up. I was home in my bed. I had decided today I was so tired and worn out, I wasn't going to get up and take my pajamas off. And I got on. And when Alvin called, he made, I told him, I said, well, you all just going down to the store, help yourself, I'm going to come over there and meet y'all tomorrow. And I went to the ironing board and I was like, Lord have mercy, that's Alvin. I can't let him bring no group to Savannah. I don't even come down here and say, hey. So I just came to say, hey, I'm going back to that bed. But I wanted to give y'all a good old-fashioned Geechee welcome. This is Africa in Savannah. This is Africa in Savannah. This is Africa in Savannah. And we're the only African born in America on Stowe downtown. All right. And guess what? Y'all here to keep me down here. All right. Now we done seen about 20 or 30 businesses come and go. All kind of half-looting white businesses. The good Lord and the ancestors said, y'all gonna be down here. All right. Y'all gonna be down here. And I am very grateful. We have a story to tell. To everybody. Our people, them people, the other people. Whatever people. So welcome to Africa in Savannah. It doesn't cost you anything to look, touch, feel. You know, just don't leave your fingerprints on it, because if you do, I want you to take it with you. You have your old DNA sample, okay? But other than that, welcome, welcome, welcome. Right. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Hold on, let me say something. I want to say a little bit more. She's a native of Savannah. She's a fighter and an activist internationally in the environmental movement. She has been a leader of Citizens for Environmental Justice for at least the last 10 or 15 years.
17.
17. I'm one of the original board members trying to remember. But she's been fighting all over this whole world, going to the Geneva and all kind of international conference talking about environmental justice. She was also on, what's the name of that commission you were on for the United States Environmental Justice, where you was one of the folks that was on that whole commission from D.C.
Oh, Climate's Commission?
That was
it's the National Environmental Policy Commission.
The National Environmental Policy Commission.
I was one of the co-chairs.
And she's a co-chair of that. So she's had significant input on the across the world. As well as about 20 years ago, we started the Black Youth Development.
That's what I wanted to say.
I want you to talk about the Black Youth.
He stole my line.
No, I want you to talk about what the Black Youth is.
August 1st through the 5th of this year, we will host our 19th annual Black Youth Leadership Development Institute. And Brother Alvin has been a part of that since the beginning. When he brought his sons down, they were wearing the MC Hammer pants and the patent leather shoes, and Abdul had his head conked down to the ground. Now, I don't know what Ahab had, because he was just so mean, and you couldn't hardly even see him. He was so mean.
Those are my twin sons who are 35.
The twin sons and the young one that came through. We done went to Africa. But next year will be our 20th anniversary, and we're taking the young people to Senegal. That's what we're going to do the Institute at. We're going to go to Senegal and Gambia. Ooh, I get goosebumps, y'all.
Yeah, we've done that trip before.
We've done that before with his son.
Yes.
We drove from Dakar, Senegal. Y'all ain't going to believe it. But we did in one of the raggedest trucks we've ever been in. We drove from Dakar, Senegal, all the way to Serekunda, Gambia. And we had a sister on board who didn't have a passport. But don't you know we got her in and out? We had her up under our leg. We were going like this. So we know a little something about Harry Thomas following people back and forth, you know.
But we're real grateful because, you know, a lot of people are scared to relate to our young people, and we usually have about 60, 70 young people come from Georgia, South Carolina, Baltimore, Tennessee, Washington. One time we had somebody come from Portland, Oregon.
Oh, we sure did.
We sure, a sister came all by herself. And then last year we had two Latino brothers and sisters to come from New Mexico.
We sure did.
Oh, they came and they ran some great workshops about the nuclear stuff.
You tell him he a runaway slave, you stop talking to his name.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Every year the Leadership Institute has the 5 days at St. Simon at a place called Epworth by the Sea. So it's a very peaceful, serene place. We get a chance to go out, and there's a place called Evo's Landing, which is mythical and real, that folks from Nigeria who were slaves, refused to be slaves, walked back out in the water. One of the significant things we do is talk about the history and the culture. And Dr. McLean also has sort of a way of spiritually uplifting young people to the extent that when we do the Evo's Landing thing, it's almost like the ancestors of, I mean, I can't even tell you how some of the experience we go, children are crying and the white people wondering, what are they doing? You know, we right there on the water doing it. That includes going to synagogue too. She also has some significant relationships in synagogue with the environmental movement, as well as a place over there where she's continuing to develop the cultural connection and bring some of the stuff out of the store, as well as get people to go to synagogue. So if you want to go to synagogue just any time and know somebody, call her.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we do have about an acre of land over in Chase Synagogue that we are going to develop a sort of a museum gallery of Africans in America's experience, because you know they don't get a lot of that. So we're going to take all our books and videotape. We're going to take these stupid videotapes too. We're going to take the black exploitation stuff, but we want to see them how they really did us. You know what I'm saying? But really, that's going to be a great opportunity, because one of the things we're going to try to do, and I'm talking fast, I'm getting out of here, is that we're going to ask the court system in Georgia for the first-time offenders that they, instead of putting them in jail, they give them to us and let us take them on the synagogue and do the real transformation. You know what I'm saying? Because if somebody just, you know, did a little something, you know, let's give us a chance to reform them and take them and reshape and mold them. We're going to put them to work. That's what we're going to do with these right here. And then touch up in here and, you know, do a little cleansing and washing and throwing them in the ocean. And that's the beautiful thing, that when we go to St. Simon Island, what we do is we simulate, so we hold hands and we actually walk in the ocean and we dump down, and when we come up, we're chanting Zulu, Zulu, and it can be felt through the whole thing. Now, 2 years ago, some children got out of order. Oh, they got way out of order. You know what we did for them? We took them down to the ocean, to Neptune Park. We started at one, we lined them all up. And then me and this reverend and some other people, we started in the historic district of downtown. This is Africa in Savannah, giving a shout out to WACPtv. And we're so glad that you're with us as we sit down with the Geechee people. Welcome, boys and girls, to our territory. It is right here where some of the Senegalese boys and girls lost their life, right over on the river. We have Lazaretta Creek, which is the first port of entry for the New World slaves. This is a very historical place, so we give you a good greeting from Africa in Savannah.
That's right. And how do we?
And our phone number is 912-231-1227. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Some people say I'm doing fine. Other people just looking at me like, okay, so what is that? That's just a tad of Gullah. For those of you who have not yet met me, I am Bethany Campbell, and all these people on this bus are related to me. I lived in Atlanta for 19 years and worked as Director of Education at the Apex Museum. And now I live my best life, traveling around the world doing Black History tours. So nobody on this bus has marsh mud between your toes.
Mother say, please come on, she's getting ready. Now don't go over there and stay at Maya Angelou and she gonna go cook y'all food up and y'all don't show up. Okay, now if I don't call her.
She's called
I just called her. She going to go to the kitchen now.
Okay, all right.
I told her about
So we coming.
So she hooking it up. Okay, thanks a lot. So then quick and then go on over there. Okay,
which one? The one on Bay Street. Okay.
Baby, the one on Bay Street.
Okay, alrighty. Okay.
So can you get up there?
Yeah, I can get you. Is it Alan? What's your name? Alan. I knew it was A.L. something. Drake Street is the one-way left turn headed north to the river. I don't know how much Alvin has told you all.
Not much.
But he was probably fronting. Don't believe a word he said. Anyway, this is my town. This is Savannah. This is where I was born, and Savannah is the oldest city in Georgia. Georgia is the last of the 13 colonies, and to make this last of the 13 original colonies, and it was founded in 1733. I don't know how you find stuff that's not lost, but at any rate, that's the claim that James Elwood Oglethorpe makes. That and when you get to Bay Street here is where you're going to make a left turn. On Bay Street, heading Martin Luther King, and Martin Luther King's going to make a right turn. Okay? Yes. At any rate, I'm going to jump around a little bit since I'm not giving you an official tour. You're going to make a left turn at this right now. But the building is directly in front of us. It's the Cotton Exchange. I'm going to be throwing bits and pieces in here and there and talking really, really fast. The world's prices for cotton were set in that building when cotton was king in the South. It is the Cotton Exchange. And it was from this Cotton Exchange that the Cotton Exchange in New York on the New York Cotton Exchange established. And for those of you who are not aware, another claim that somebody made, the cotton gin, Eli Whitney, was created on the Hermitage Plantation. Excuse me, not Hermitage, the Mulberry Plantation. Just a few miles up the river from here because we're actually now riding parallel to the Savannah River. And this is the United States Customs House. And the reason I'm pointing these particular buildings out to you is because they have significance to our history and culture. In 1890, the head of customs was a black man who had been, in the late 1890s, who had been appointed to that position by President William McKinley, who also in Atlanta appointed Henry Rucker as the first black collector of the Internal Revenue. Incidentally, he was one of those presidents who was assassinated. I don't know why. I can only begin to imagine. But at any rate, Savannah, as you can see, is on a bluff because if you look to the right, you'll be looking down on the river, and it's about a 40-foot bluff that is here. It was founded by James Elwood Oglethorpe in 1733. That's what he said.
They found that.
That's what he said. Anyway, but I know better. And when he got here, he actually got across the water on February 1st. It's actually stopped in Charleston on February 12th. The date that is listed for his here in Savannah. When he got here, he was met by a group of Native Americans who were from the Creek Nation. It was the Yamacraw Indians, whose Miko, or chief, was Tamachichi. Yes, the Tamachichi, though the English thought very well of him, and settlers thought very well of him, the other Native Americans did not, because they didn't like the idea that he was giving land to those folks. So we're about to make a 40-foot drop, but when Georgia was founded with several provisions, and Georgia's one of the original reasons for founding Georgia was that Georgia would be a buffer colony. As I said, it was the last of the 13 original colonies. And it was a buffer colony because at that time, the territory that we know as Florida today was owned by Spain. Spain and England were enemies to each other. And because they were enemies, Great Britain felt that they needed to have a military buffer between these territories that would protect the colonies that were all becoming very, very prosperous colonies. there was hope that Georgia would be as well, but when Oglethorpe got here, he set out 4 outposts on the perimeters of this area. And if you see any of the revolutionary or early and revolutionary actually period monuments throughout the South, you will see that many of them face the South. And that is because Spain was the enemy and it was south of here. Others that you will see that came from the Civil War period faced north because north was the enemy. Now pay attention to these bricks on these buildings. This building at our right, this one has got the stucco on it. These old bricks, these bricks were made on the Hermitage plantation up near the Mulberry plantation behind us. Those bricks are called Savannah Gray bricks. Those bricks have been around since the early 1800s, some of them the late 1700s. I love to tell this story because the recipe for the Savannah Gray bricks, these buildings. The recipe for the Savannah Gray bricks died, guess when? With the Civil War. Because they were made by enslaved African people on the plantations. And when these people left the plantations before and during the war period, the people who, they didn't tell anybody all that was going in them. So these Savannah Gray bricks are made by the hands of our ancestors. They are some of the most expensive bricks in this country. The stones that we are rolling over are granite stones that was cut from Georgia granite quarries in North Georgia. Up and around Atlanta, the quarries at Stone Mountain and all of those areas. But these buildings that you look at with the stucco facade, like the building on our immediate right, those are Savannah Gray bricks that have stucco over them. If you look inside some of the stores, you can see the Savannah Gray brick walls inside of them. These walls are more than 4 feet thick. These buildings are not going anywhere. On some of these buildings, you see these steel bolts that come out of the buildings. This area of the country is on a earthquake fault. And so you see a lot of bolts that are in these buildings that are stabilizers in these buildings. This building is one of the oldest buildings in Savannah, and you can see that it's done by a hodgepodge of bricks that were actually ballast in the bottoms of the cargo ships that were coming in. If you look at this street to the right here with these cobblestones, these different shapes of rounded edge stones, those are cobblestones that also served as ballast in the bottoms of those cargo ships that were coming in. The monument that we're going to go ahead and look at up here that's just not very far ahead of us, we're going to stop, jump off the bus, go over, take a look at that monument, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. But all of these storefronts that you see down here now, these were, you might call them cargo holds or warehouses. All of them had big rounded arched doors. Is where goods that were coming off of.
I don't know, he ain't with us.
Must be your cousin. Don't be acting like that. The brother might have something good to say to you. All right. In fact, if you look at these walls over here, you can see the stabilizers. These are newer stabilizers in these walls that are on the upper level here. And where was I?
Cargo.
All right. Thank you, dog. All I need is one word. Okay, all right. Anyway, these places were all warehouses down here. Now, on the other side, on the Bay Street side, there's actually a walkway that goes all the way through behind these buildings, just on the other side. That goes all the way through that area. From Bay Street, people could walk across those bridges to actually what these merchants had as their storefronts. And then that area is called Factors Walk and Middle Factors Walk, and then on the upper level was where they lived, and all of that had to be accessed from the Bay Street side. Yeah, come on, let's go over here and look at this monument. We love all of it. Okay, I just want to share a little bit of information with you all about, I was just telling you all about the history of African Americans coming, the whole piece. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them coming to Savannah in particular. But this monument is called the African American Monument. And this monument, because of Savannah's rich history, and the contributions the people of African descent have made here in America group came together, and here in Savannah in particular came together to have this monument created. Well, you would be absolutely phenomenally surprised at how much resistance they got from people who look like us. And the reason that there was so much resistance is that a number of people were saying that they did not want to remember our history in reference to slavery. And it's the same thing that I hear all the time, people saying that they don't want to deal with that slavery issue, but I often tell people, come closer. I often tell people that we need to deal with and remember, because the nadir or the darkest period in our history was the transatlantic slave trade, and so this piece is a memorial to that. We need to remember that for a number of reasons. It is the most horrendous experience that any group of people have ever had to experience. We're talking about a half millennium at least, minimally, of people being under siege, and you're talking about the people who are essentially still under siege.
That's right.
The reason that I think that we should remember it is because when we remember the conditions that we came through, then it gives you a clear understanding of how strong we are.
That's right.
When we know our history, when we know where we came from, then we understand how we got to be in our present condition. And when we know how we got to be in our present condition, then we can chart and control our course for the future. So this monument, often people get upset about this monument because this monument is supposed to be a representation of that transatlantic experience that we had. But the interesting thing about it is that when you look at it, it really would remind you of a middle-class African-American contemporary family. But that's all right. But that's all right. One of the main things that they did not want on this monument were the words of Dr. Maya Angelou. They could not stop these words from being written, even though they tried and held the project up for over 5 years. And the open shackles here are supposed to be our representation of our emancipation, because I won't say freedom yet. We can't say freedom yet, but of the celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation, I'll say it that way. But if you look at the etching here, it says we were sold. We were stolen, sold and bought together from the African continent. We got on the slave ships together. We laid back to belly in the holes of the slave ships in each other's excrement. We're going to remember all of those ancient Kenites. Ashe. We're going to remember people like Queen T. We're going to remember Akhenaten. We're going to remember, give me some of them. Bob Marley. We're going to, the old ones in singing, the ancient ones in singing. Ashe. We're going to remember Shaka in South Africa. Ashe. We're going to remember Arcea and Arset in Egypt. Ashe. We're going to come and remember Maya, and we're also going to give thanks for in remembrance of the Ma'afa. Ashe. We're going to come over to the West. And we're going to remember those people like Patrice Lumumba. Ashe. We're going to remember Martin Starvey. Ashe. We're going to remember Shaka and his resistance. Ashe. Kwame Nkrumah Ghana. Ashe. Summer Overture in Haiti. Ashe. Dr. John Henry Clark all over the world. Ashe. Jose Williams. Ashe. Hosted here in Savannah. Earl Chenhosa. Ashe. Ashe. What a remember my grandparents, Pauline and Isaiah Campbell. All of them. Savannah River is about 12 minutes away from here into the Atlantic Ocean. That is a point of significance also because Savannah is one of those major places. After the crossings, Charleston was a primary port and Savannah was a primary port as well. Want to remember all of those Africans who were brought up to Lazaretto Quarantine Station. The Europeans came across and were greeted at welcome at at Ellis Island in New York. Africans coming across the ocean were taken to Lazaretto Quarantine Station at Tybee Island, not 15 minutes away from here. Many of them died there. Untold numbers of them died there at Lazaretto Station. Others of them were greased up and brought right here into slave and auction houses here in Savannah to be sold. The church where you just came from that gave you that story there at First African Baptist Church and the part that it played in the whole Underground Railroad, and that was one of many stations or secret safe houses here in Savannah. And what we're going to do is we're going to get back on the bus because we've got to get you all over to the house of prayer, and I will talk over to the house of prayer. Dangerous bread pudding. Now,
hold up. Oh, that's she up in the bathroom.
Check.
Go ahead.
Look in front of, behind, look in front of, behind, and beside you, and see whether or not there's a space in it should be empty. Is everybody counted for? Yes. All righty. Now don't say yes because you're trying to leave somebody now. All righty then. Okay, we're going to move ahead.
Sam.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Oh, it's wonderful. Now we're going to the end of the street.
Oh, they said you're going to do
Just go slowly. I'm getting ready to tell you about Captain Sam.
Okay.
Captain Sam had, at the time of his collapse, I might say,
This is a brother.
had the Waving Girl, the Alabama Star, and the Georgia Queen.
He owned all.
This corner belonged to him. Those were his ferry boats. The original one, the Waving Girl, was the size of this Savannah Bell's ferry. Well, actually, it was a bit larger than that. To go on rides on his ferry, that was the only ferry service that was actually taking people from the islands, particularly the Fusky Island, Savannah, to come to work. Those people would leave the island, come here on Monday and work, and then go back home on Friday, spend the weekend at home, come back on the evenings. Captain Sam also had a business and getting ready for First Saturday celebration down here, so that's why you see these tents setting up on the left side over here on the riverside.
And what is First Saturday?
Excuse me?
First Saturday.
First Saturday celebration. They bring vendors from all over the southeastern region of the country and have just a festival down here on the river. And so this one is First Saturday. Well, actually, they're doing this one for Memorial Day weekend, but it's usually every first Saturday they have vendors down here. Captain Sam, the fuel oil business as well. And he had a number of government contracts, and he sold to many of the military bases in this particular area. Hinesville, down at Fort Stewart, here in Savannah, we had Travis Field, we had Hunter Army Airfield, Travis Field here, Hunter Army Airfield, and Fort Stewart. And when they began that process, when this area down here when I was growing up was nothing down here but wharf rats and the tugboat company. But Captain Sam was a visionary, and he bought up property down here, and so he had several prime pieces of property, which I showed you on the corner back there of Bull Street. And right next to it was where City Hall, or behind it I should say, was where City Hall is located. City Hall, which was originally covered with gold, the gold dome with the gold from Dahlonega, Georgia, just like the State House in Atlanta is. At any rate, when they got ready to take that property away from him, it was said that they got a brother to come down from Atlanta to work on the inside. Well, that ain't the first time a handkerchief-head Negro has shown up on the scene. At any rate, they found some kind of impropriety in the books, accused him of cheating on his government contract, confiscated all of his property, all of his boats, and ultimately sent him to Texas, to a federal penitentiary in Texas, and he was in his 70s at the time. They kept him there for several years until his health was failing and he was no longer able to fight, and brought him back to Savannah just a few months short of his death. And he was somewhere in his mid to late 70s at the time that he made his transition and return. Now, I hope this to be true, but until the process of those African people living in taken from them by the Caucasians.
And who is this guy?
Captain Sam?
Captain Sam bought the property.
Oh, that undermines.
Oh, I don't know what the Negro's name was. I don't know what the Negro's name was. I don't know what his name was. But anyway, as again, these cobblestones and all of this brickwork. Now, one thing I want to tell you all about these provisions here with the founding of Georgia. There were several provisions. I said colony. There's some other significant pieces to that. Georgia was founded as a buffer colony. Georgia was also the colony of Georgia where the cast-offs from England, some of whom had come from debtors' prison, some were prostitutes, some were homeless people, some were people who lived on welfare in England. In order to get rid of those people, they sent them here. So a number of them, and then playing hooligans and prisoners. That's it. And they, drunks, scoundrels. And they sent them here.
That's who founded Georgia.
That's who founded Georgia. Okay, let me say that's who founded Tomachichi and the crew when they got here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we found them when they got here.
Nothing. They came over and stole them.
Found their way to here. Now, among those provisions for Georgia, that charter said there will be in the Georgia colony no lawyers. If people are to have differences settled, they are to settle it between themselves or get a neighbor to help you if you couldn't figure it out. No alcohol, brandy, strong drinks, or wine in the colony of Georgia. No Catholic services. They didn't want Papists or Catholic services. Florida was Spanish-held territory. They figured if people were Catholics, then they might be sympathetic towards Spanish Florida. Okay? The other thing they said was that the Georgia colony was to have, now people tell you all the time that Georgia was not intended to be a slave colony. Let me set the record straight. Georgia have no Negroes, slave or free. Y'all got that? Y'all got that? Answer me. Oh, okay. They didn't want any blacks in Georgia enslaved or free. And that was their intention when the college was founded in 1733. That charter was disbanded in 1752. You all see this little shop right here that says exotic gifts and cigars and accessories? That's my girlfriend Ann's shop, who's from England. She's from Kenya. She has cigars and all that on one side, but on the other side, some beautiful, beautiful gifts that come from putting these sandals that I'm wearing today. Yes. Okay. Shameless plug. What could I say?
Go ahead.
But at any rate,
I didn't even know that was.
Absolutely. Yes, she's from Kenya, and she's black. Okay.
Now it's important to talk about the little white lady.
Yes, it is. That. You want me to talk about the waving girl on the left side? The woman with her dog. Yeah. That's Florence Martis. Florence Martis is Savannah's most famous monument. Florence Martis, it is said, it's one of Savannah's urban legends. It is said that it was either her husband or her fiance who went out, who was a merchant seaman and came up and down, who was coming in and out of the port all the time, but he went out on a trip and never came back. They don't know whether he was lost at sea or what happened to him. But at any rate, from the time that she was a young teenage woman, she would come up to the bluff here on the right side and she would take off her scarf, she'd have the dog with her, and she would wave at all of the ships coming and going. She did this for well over 40 years. And all of the ships that were coming in and out, all these merchant ships that were coming up from the Atlantic Ocean and on up the Savannah River to the port would see her and they would wave at her. So she is Savannah's waving girl. Now the second most popular monument in Savannah is the Bird Girl from the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Savannah, Georgia, as a matter of fact, here in Savannah in particular, the #1 source of revenue for the state of Georgia is this port. Now, the reason that Sherman ended up not burning Savannah down is because Mayor Richard Arnold and his entourage went and met them when they were on the way in here. Met them outside of the city, welcomed them when they came and told them that they had a nice place for them to stay, and so that's why General Sherman and his crew did not burn down Savannah and gave Savannah to Abraham Lincoln as a Christmas present in that year. During the Revolutionary War period, a major point is always talked about is the Siege of Savannah, because during the Revolutionary War, more than 500 Haitian soldiers came over here to fight in the war on the side of the Patriots. The Loyalists were on the side of England. There was one that said, we're going to go straight ahead. This is Bay Street. We're going to go straight ahead. We're going to cross that viaduct. One of the people that they always talk about, and they like the sideways call him a traitor, was an enslaved man here in Savannah whose name was Kwame Nodali, also called Quash for short. Well, he went back up nearer to the ocean, and when the English troops, the British troops were coming, he led them up into the city from a secret side, and they came in here and they put a beating on the Patriots. They like to call him a traitor, but how could he have been a traitor? Because he was enslaved. This is Yamacraw on the left side, the oldest public housing. But see that church right there on the left side? That church and First African Baptist Church both have the distinction of being the oldest black Baptist congregation in the country, because it was one church that split. The congregation split, the larger portion of the group moved 2 blocks up the street, and that became known as First African Baptist Church. And then this one is First Bryan, which is still in existence, so I never said that either one is the first, because as far as I'm concerned, they share that distinction. A block or so from where we were back on Bay Street, about 8 blocks back, is also Second African Baptist Church. Second African Baptist Church is where Field Order number 15's provision came into being. Field Order 15 was the 40 acres and a mule provision. And it was originally ordered not by Abraham Lincoln, but by David Hunter, who was a field commander, and another guy in Tennessee in Kentucky whose name that I don't remember, gave 40 acres and a mule as well. That was to come to those blacks who were being, who at that point were contraband, because they had run away from slavery and they were following the troops. And so since the South lost the war, the land that those who were fighting against the Union owned was to be confiscated, and it was confiscated. And land within 40 miles inland. And they were to be given an army mule to work that land, because when they had that 40 acres and a mule meeting with Secretary Stanton, the Secretary of War, here in Savannah, they met with 20 leading ministers. And I might add, they said some of the most intelligent Negroes in the Southeast were those here in Georgia. And they met with them, and they said, what is it that you want now that you have your freedom? And they said, the only thing that black people want is their freedom, or our freedom, and to be able to live by the sweat of our own brow and to own our own land that we can work and live from. And so that's why the 40 acres and a mule provision was enacted, but it was rescinded. It was rescinded. Office complex of black doctors were located, and then this building is for sale here, the Savannah Pharmacy, just closed in the last 3 months. The last black-owned pharmacy here in Savannah, and the oldest. And the oldest.
Stay tuned, stay tuned, all and the best and the rest of your life. WACPtv, the place to be.
Boy, if you know how to interpret that, we got $1 million check. We're going to get to whoever won't be a millionaire right here in old Gullah country, USA.
Let me get my act together. Oh Lord, I'm sorry, Jesus. Dig on everybody. Jesus, Carmen, Shango, Buddha, call on everybody.
that I didn't know.
2004, I went to Nassau, Bahamas. From Nassau, Bahamas, I went to the island of Eleuthera.
Thank you.
About our history and what we've done and things that we continue to do.
So what you got to say about it?
Listen, brother, it's about a mentality. This shirt represents the mentality of most of the people in America, black people anyway, you know what I mean?
George Moultrie. George Moultrie. And I've been coming here for 11 years now.
Well, I'm very happy that you're here. You will get a chance to see firsthand just how we do celebrate our heritage and our culture.
Know that we, you know, in the 1800s, 1700s, we wouldn't ever be able to congregate in such a manner as black people under one love and one destiny and one tribe. So it's wonderful to see all the people around here, see everybody here under the red, black, and green, of course. You know what I mean? One nation, one tribe, one destiny, one God, you understand? Give thanks and praise, brother.
Thank you.
All the while.
All right there.
All right, man. What's your name?
Hassan. Documenting history from Atlanta to Africa.
There you go.
Yes, indeed.
There you go. How's the art?
Art is fine. Yes, indeed.
Our inviting time and what we brought to the world. We're going to remember all of those ancient Kenites.
Ashe means God has sanctioned it. God will make it happen.
Ashe.
Stay tuned for your feature presentation, Gullahful.
Gullahful.
Gullahful.